Welcome to another episode of my Ranging Diaries. In today's episode, I'm working again on my brother's 04 IS200. Okay, so this one has a couple of due main maintenance, such as the leaking valve cover gasket, the Overdue timing belts, and you had to replace the O-ring that goes there, which is the variable valve timing actuator, solenoid. So the game plan is check of the radiator, as much of the junk that here so I can gain access to remove the crank pulley. That's the most hardest thing to do on this job, so replacing the valve cover gasket would be simple. Okay, these are all the parts and tools I got for this job. We have 10 liters of premix coolant to fill the coolant system after we're done. We have plenty of degreaser and silicone spray for the O-rings and whatnot. And most importantly, gasket maker for the valve cover gasket. In repair manuals it says to use it in 2 specific places. I'll show you that later in the video. Harmonic balancer puller for the crank pulley, and a crank pulley holder tool to loosen the crank pulley bolts, brand new valve cover gasket, seals for the spark plug holes, and the VVTI solenoid O-ring. The Lexus guy gave me a bunch of these for free. Big shout out to the parts department, and last but not least, the timing belt itself. These are the part numbers if you want to get it. And without further ado, let's start stripping this thing down. As you can see here, the oil leak coming down all the way to the bottom of the oil pan. 10mm bolts on the under tray. As you can see, the whole engine is soaking wet from the oil, coming from 2 oil leaks, one from the valve cover gasket, the other one from the leaking VVTI solenoid O-ring. Meanwhile, the coolant draining, I'm going to take care of the intake panel, all these joints, so I can lift the radiator up and away. The upper radiator hose and the bottom radiator hose as well. 1 bolt, 2 bolts. Undo the fan. This goes to the ECU box, and we'll be able to get the radiator out. Upper radiator hose out. It's a good thing we are flushing the coolant system, looking nasty in there. This is the lower radiator hose, taking it out, and these are the oil cooler lines for the transmission. Always remember to cap it with something to stop the oil from coming out. So there's a coolant temperature sensor I need to take out. Let me show you. Need to check out this guy. It's out. We have plenty of space now. These are all the 920 auxiliary belts. I think this is before they invented the serpentine belt system. Next up, I'm gonna take the plenum out. 1 bolt here, the other one here. That's 3 bolts. Next one down here, already taken that out. Intake temperature sensor, throttle cable. can see the valve cover leaking badly. Next thing is to get the wiring loom off. You have to be very careful not to break these connectors. They can be very brittle. Before we handle the wiring loom, let's take the battery out. Safety precautions. Oxygen sensor for front 3 cylinders. The wiring loom is fairly easy to take out. You just have to undo these tabs and it comes out right away. Someone's loosey-goosey. Look at that. There are a couple of brackets and covers on this side of the engine. Just had to take it out. A couple of bolts here and there. There are 2 electrical connectors here, and then the connectors to the coil packs, followed by these 2 grounds. After that, both connectors to the fuel injectors. The throttle position sensor. With that, the engine harness is ready to come off. Okay, the harness is out of the way. Before I remove the valve cover, I need to clean all of this junk out because I don't want anything going inside of the engine. So next up, taking out the valve cover held by 11 bolts and the coil packs. Always try to take the bolts out from the middle towards the outside. That way you can relieve the pressure evenly. And I had to take this bracket also out because it gets in the way of the bolts. I almost forgot to remove the last bolt near the firewall. It would have been a disaster if I tried to pry this off. So the last bolt is out. Now we can get the valve cover out. There you go. This is the old gasket. Let's take this thing out for good. A little bit stiff. We have a little bit of varnishing going on. Nothing alarming. All the valve lobes are good. No damage to them. I just cleaned all the old gasket material with a rag and degreaser so the new gasket can seal properly. Next we have to remove all these spark plug hole seals. You just have to bend all these tabs outwards and take them out. Let's go with this something so anything won't fall inside of the engine while we're working on the valve cover. With the valve cover out of the way, let's start removing the spark plug hole seals. These little things were a bit stubborn, started breaking apart when I tried to get it out. A little bit of persuasion from a pick, came out right away. And that's the last one. It's ready to go for a proper cleanup before we put it back together. This thing was properly caked up with years worth of dirt and grime. Cleaning it up was so satisfying. Now it's ready to receive all the seals and gaskets. A little bit of silicone spray before we put the spark plug seals back on. And bend these little metal tabs to lock them in place. This is the brand new valve cover gasket. Should be flexible like this. It only goes in one way. Just pop it back in the groove and ready to go. And this is where the gasket maker or the sealant comes into play. You have to put two little blobs of gasket maker in these two corners, one in here and one in the other side to seal it properly. Otherwise you're going to have oil leaks from here. Okay, the valve cover is going back in again. We have to be really careful not to pinch the valve cover, otherwise it's going to leak and we're going to have to do this all over again. I'm double checking everything's perfect, not pinching anything, and get ready to put the bolts back in. Workshop manual doesn't show the torque specs for the valve cover bolts. I found out it's 8.5 Newton meters on the interwebs. Make sure to tighten the bolts from middle of the valve cover towards outside to make sure that the valve cover seats evenly on the cylinder head. The PCV hose go into the throttle body, followed by the coil packs. The connector bracket goes back in. Yes, always drop your bolts inside the engine bay. Nice. It's not on the floor, definitely should be on the subframe. I'll worry about it later. Let's swap the O-ring on the VVTI solenoid next. It held by this one bolt, you can take it out and pry this thing out with a screwdriver and it will pop out. Just like that. This is the O-ring we had to replace, the new one. You can take it out with a pick. Like so. These are the new ones and should be rubber like this, not plastic. Let's put a little bit of silicone spray on the solenoid and the O-ring so it can go smoothly. Yeah, we have to pop it in that groove, not the one on top. And you can pop this back in. When you hear that nice click, it's properly seated. So that is VVTI solenoid done and dusted. So that is going to be it for today's video, people. And I managed to finish the valve cover gasket and the VVTI solenoid oil successfully. It was mostly straightforward, but the next step is the hard part, tackling the timing belt. Because this part is a bit technical. If I didn't follow the proper procedures and steps, I can pretty much grenade the engine. So wish me luck and stay tuned for the part 2 of this video to see that. And thank you so much if you stuck this far, really appreciate it. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you like the content and consider subscribing to the channel. And until I see you with the part 2, keep on racing.